Hello. So, welcome to Not My Canon SW, which SW, if you didn't catch on, is Star Wars, which it'll be for now. But we'll do other models too at some point, Warhammer or like one-off board game models and different things like that. But for now, we're just gonna do Star Wars models. So again, welcome to Not My Canon. This is the first video. Some caveats before we start. So so this channel is really just about meandering, kind of. There really isn't a purpose necessarily. It's just one of those things where I really have I have a lot of stuff to paint, and I have a lot of stuff to talk about, I guess, so I might as well just do both. And also I think just doing this is, for all the model painters out there, we all suffer from the same thing where we're all probably going to be dead and half of our models aren't going to be painted, and we'll be lucky if half of them are. So I think this is just a way for us to kind of like sit down and have a conversation, and if you want to engage with things I talk about, that's fine. If you don't, it's just a thing where I'm not really a great painter. I can do some nice things, but it's really just one of those things where I want to paint it well enough to be on the table. I don't play tournaments or anything like that. I just play with my brothers, and I'll teach other people, like friends and stuff. And so it's always nice to have painted things, obviously. And so this is just a series of videos where I'll just sit and paint. I'll tell you what I'm doing, and then I'll just talk about a bunch of random things as they come up, and yeah, we'll see how things go. So I am Christian, I am conservative, and I say that as a caveat because a lot of the things I talk about are coming from that perspective, but I like to talk about just kind of the whole, whatever it is. So we'll talk about media and board games, but also philosophy and politics and things of that nature, so just be aware of that. However, I will be sure to include all the like descriptions of what I'm doing and what I'm using in like below the video, so that if you want to watch me paint but you don't want to hear me talk, you can do that and you're not going to miss out on anything, because I think that's it's important for you guys to be able to kind of choose what you want to do in that, like in this way. So I'll be sure to do that. And then, like I said, we'll do Star Wars Legion. There's a lot of it, and there's a lot of Shatterpoint, and then there's a lot of Warhammer to paint, Warhammer Fantasy, and then there's just one-off board games like Mansions of Madness, or XCOM, or like the Black Seas line of like model ships and stuff. So yeah, there's just a lot of things. There'll be a lot of videos of painting, and hopefully this will go on a long time, and you guys will learn something from it. So yeah, there's all the social medias and stuff like that, on Patreon or whatever, if you want to support what I'm doing, whatever it is that I'm doing. And yeah, just have a good time, I guess. So today, or tonight, we're going to attempt to finish a T-47 Airspeeder from Star Wars Legion. So I have two of them. One of them, they're both undercoated with Citadel primer and the black primer, and then one of them is just primed. It's over there. And then this one I tried painting a few weeks ago when I started, when I had everything set up down here and kind of doing it, but I ran out of paint, and the reason I ran out of paint was because I was using this the Citadel Grey Seer, Grey Seer base, because I wanted to basic gray. But I don't know if anyone else has had this problem lately, but I bought a bunch of Citadel paints, and half of them tend to just dry out no matter what. Like, no matter what. And it's very weird because I'll keep all of them in the same box, and half of them will be perfectly fine and the other half will not. And there's no difference between how much they're closed and how much they're not. I mean, they're all fully closed or whatever, but there's like no difference. So I don't understand. So a lot of the like base ones, like the ones I actually need, like white and gray and skin and all these other things, just dry out almost instantaneously when I open it. So I really don't understand. It's very confusing. Also, another caveat, this is the first video, and so nothing's set up. Like, there's no microphone, there's no nothing. So, if, you know, this is just the way it is. So just be aware of that. I make movies, and I understand that this is not professional, so it's just going to have to be the way it is for now. So just be aware of that. So back to the painting. So what I did was I bought all these paints, realized I needed all this other stuff, and Citadel paints have gone up so much. Like, I go to this board game store called Top Deck, and I can buy pots for, I think, less than $6. I think somewhere between 5 and 6. But if I want to get on Amazon, it's more. It's like 7 or 8, and I don't understand why that's the case. So I was looking up all these different things, and I'm curious how it would play out on an actual like Citadel, like Games Workshop model, which I haven't tried yet. But I did notice that the Legion stuff is painted differently, or not painted differently. It's like a different plastic, or it's a different mold, or whatever. Especially because the old ones were like the soft plastic and the new ones are on sprues and stuff like that. So even within that, there's a difference, but whatever. Point being, I decided to try like a different set of paints, like a different, you know, whatever. And so I bought these Nicpro acrylic paints, like this box that was on Amazon, bunch of things that had a thinner in it, you know, all that stuff. So I didn't use a thinner, and it worked really well. Like this crab droid that I had put on social media that you guys can see over there, that was painted with three Citadel paints and 2 acrylic, 2 of the Nicpro ones, and it worked really well. And I didn't thin anything, and I'm sure, you know, there's people that say, well, it looks a little blobby, whatever. It didn't blob. I just did a lot of dry brushing and a lot of layering and stuff like that. So yeah, it works out pretty well. I tend to really thin out the paint, like just naturally before I do it. But again, these are all things I'm learning, so whatever. So what we're gonna do is, well, of course, because these paints for some reason are very this is one thing that is very annoying, is they have this like nozzle at the top. And for some reason, even when I haven't like used the paint whatsoever, I haven't even opened it, stuff gets in the top. So I don't know why, but that's the way it is. So I'm going to use this gray. It's not coming out. That's cool. It's really not coming out. Wow, that's crazy. Let's see if this does what I need it to do. Okay, I got it. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so I'll put that. I just drop a little thing. So what I'm using right now is I'm using gray. Now I don't know how much that gray is going to match with this one, so we'll just kind of paint over it and see. So the idea here is that I'm just going to like paint over the whole thing gray. I'm going to leave the windows black probably, or maybe do a little bit of white, because then I saw this. So here's the thing with me painting this stuff. Some stuff I'll do different colors, like alternate things, or maybe do a little bit of an interesting, you know, whatever it is. Some stuff I like to make exact the way it was, like in the movies or in different types of media or whatever. So with this one, I'm just going to paint it all gray. I saw this one thing where the windows were like tinted blue, and I thought that was pretty cool, like blue with a highlight of white, which I think I'll do. But we're just going to paint the whole thing gray for now, see what happens, and yeah, see how it matches. So it's kind of matching. For some reason, the Citadel one is, and I shouldn't dry brush it as much, but actually I should do this with the paintbrush anyway. So for some reason, the whatever it is, the Citadel grays are a little bit more white. I don't know why that's the case, but that seems to be the case. So this is what we're doing, and there we go. So I own a lot of Legion. I do like this game a lot. I came from playing Warhammer Fantasy for 20 years. So I started in 6th edition, literally back 20 years ago, and went through 6.5 and then 8th. And the people that I play with, we still play 8th. I'm not a huge old world fan. I like the fact that they're bringing models back, but I've read some of the rules and there's interesting things in it. Like I understand that they're kind of putting it more towards 6th edition with like initiative and things like that, which I'm fine with. I liked that idea, you know, the idea of the fact that initiative actually mattered back in 6th edition, whereas in 8th edition it really only mattered when you were talking about always strikes first and specifically having to do with elves and things. So, you know, it's the way it is. I do think there's some other interesting things, like their usage of war bands, I think is really cool. I think they're called war bands, but just the idea of like a limited list build where you're allowed to do certain things because you're doing a very particular build, like with the goblins and the chariots or the squigs, or, you know, like the Bray herd and you know, for beastmen and things like that. Also, I'm still learning how to do this, so like if you can see part of what I'm painting, but if you can't, then I'll have to figure out the whole like turning it around to where I'm painting it so you can see it, because you're obviously not over top of it. I guess I could paint these windows gray, because if I'm going to paint them blue, then I'll just do the blue over the gray, but I could just dry brush it, so that's fine. So I'll just do this, you know. So anyway, I like parts of Old World. I like the models. I think the models are good. I do think that they made the smartest decision of all time, as annoying as it is, which is the scaled up base sizes. Because for people who have had old Dark Elves or old Night Goblins or Savage Orcs or anything else that is that way, it's very annoying to try to line those things up, and annoying is just one word I would use. A lot of that stuff is not possible to line up because the base sizes were too small. So it's the way it is. But the point is that I played that for a very long time, and then I started playing this because my brother got it, my younger brother, and I started playing it, and I really liked it. It was very different for me because, well, for anyone who has played or even seen Warhammer Fantasy, not 40k Fantasy, and it's all not skirmish battles like 40k is, and like Legion is, so it's one of those things, and it took me a while to get used to. Not a huge amount of time, but it was enough where I was like, man, I really don't know what is going on. And just the pattern of it too, like the fact that in Warhammer you do your whole turn, and then the next person does their entire turn, and then, you know, just repeat, whereas in Legion you trade off, obviously. So I don't know, it was definitely a learning curve for me, which I enjoy learning curves, and I enjoy learning new games. I play a lot of different board games, and I enjoy the process of learning and trying, you know, all those new things, and seeing, honestly, I'm a big, like, not in real life, but in games, I really love reading rule books and learning all those things and the mechanics and all that stuff. And it's very cool to see it's cool to see whether things you are engaging with are good because they're a novelty, or good because they, you know, can actually last in terms of how they were designed. And Legion's one of those things where it, like, well, one thing I'll say about Legion is that there are very few. I had this conversation with a friend of mine, about a couple years ago. We were talking about, there was one particular game he brought up, and it had to do with cats, but it wasn't Island of Cats. It was something else. It was some space cat game or whatever. And we were talking, because we've designed board games before, and rules and theories and all that stuff, and all that, those sorts of things. And we were talking about the idea of like thematic substance, and whether or not a game that is based on a theme, like whether a theme plays into the importance of the rules, or whether it's whether it's just like a gimmick, or whether it actually matters in terms of like how the game is designed, or like rules that are particular for it, or whatever it is. Legion is one of those things where I feel like they did such a good job of incorporating the themes of Star Wars, and not just Star Wars, but just like, not just Star Wars as a whole, but more so the like army specific mechanics or flaws or designs or whatever is, they cared about it and they thought about it. And so like when you play the Republic, you have to play it like the Republic would actually fight, or the Empire, or the Rebellion. Like you can't win Legion games playing Empire versus Rebellion and play both of those armies the same. They're just not designed that way. And they really took to heart, I think, all the designs that were in the movies and in the different media, about like, okay, what is the core of these fighting styles and how do we incorporate it? Like, I think the droids are a perfect example of that. I mean, all of them are a perfect example, obviously, but droids really stand out to me with like the AI cards that you have to have, and like just the idea of like order patterns. Like when you do something, and how, like when you do something is just as important as what you're doing when you're doing something. Yeah, it's really cool. I really like the way that the game is designed, and that it seems like they actually cared about the theme and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's the way that is. All right, so painted the whole top, and now I'm going to paint the bottom here. I'm not so much worried about the bottom, so I'm just going to kind of, just paint the whole thing. So I do play all 4 armies, and when I have people over, it's nice that they can actually, try these different things. And I don't have a favorite army. I really just, like, it totally depends on what my mood is of, like, how I want to play. Because I could easily play any of the 4 just in terms of, like, enjoyment level. It's, it's very fun. And I'm curious what other people's favorites are. So the thing for me, too, is, like, I just outside of this, I really love Star Wars for a myriad of reasons. But what I tend to do is, because I'm not playing tournaments, like I would never play a tournament for a lot of reasons, but I would never play a tournament, and I never have played a tournament. And so what I do is I see all these pages of, like, what's a winnable list, what are the best units to play, these sorts of things. That's not how I play. So when I play with my brothers, because my brothers are younger than me, we just try different things. We just try to win with different lists, and and I'm sure there's a lot of people who do that, and I really enjoy playing that way. So I'm always trying different things, different combinations and stuff. One particular thing that I really like doing is having a Sith army that consists of Poggle and Asajj, and kind of waiting with Asajj until the last minute, and then jumping her out, and having her jump out, and use like that combination of command cards, and where she could just do like 6 things at once, which is just, it's great. Her design, I think, is really, really good. Yeah, that's what I enjoy doing. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna put more gray. I feel like I'm gonna run out of this gray so quickly. let's hope that I don't, because I have way too much crap I have way too much stuff I need to paint gray. Recently, I went on a trip, and on the way back, I picked up this huge lot of Shatterpoint, and I played it recently. I played it like in the last couple months, and I like Shatterpoint a lot, but it was also just like kind of how Warhammer, or not Warhammer, Legion was a whiplash from coming from Warhammer. Same deal when it comes to, sorry, I should probably hold this up. Same deal when it comes to Shatterpoint. Like, it was like a totally I mean, it is a totally different game. Like, I'm just being an idiot, but it was a totally different game. You really had to kind of let go all of the assumptions you made about Legion. And I'm not upset about it. It was just one of those things where it's like I wasn't necessarily mentally prepared for that jump. I wasn't sure, because, you know, the problem is you read reviews like on BGG or different things like that, and it's like, hey, you know, do you prefer Legion or whatever? And the problem with this is why I can't stand reading reviews about really anything, but like, I'd rather just buy it and try it, which is what I ended up doing anyway, you know, without even reading the reviews. But what bothers me about reading reviews about anything, literally anything, it could be movies, it doesn't matter what it is. What bugs me is you have to, like, you're never reading the review about the thing itself. You're reading the review about how somebody felt they were jilted because they thought the thing was something else. It's like, what are we doing, man? Like, just come on. Like, that's not the question we asked. We didn't ask what you wanted it to be. We asked what it is, and if what it was trying to do was done well. And it just drives me up a wall, because it's just like, what? Like, you're wasting everybody's time because you're writing a review that actually has nothing to do with the thing we're talking about. Whatever, I get very irate about certain things, passionate about certain things. So, then that's one of them. So, when I was reading the reviews for Shatterpoint, there was just this overwhelming thing where it's like, well, it's not Legion, or it's too. So one of, like, the main complaints was that nobody dies, which isn't true, but it's harder to have people die because it's more like this. It's a tactical thing of, like, almost like moving chess, basically. Shatterpoint is kind of like the game Homeworlds in that way, where it's like you're not like, you are destroying things, you can destroy things, but it's more like you have an objective and you're more trying to four-dimensionally adjust where things are to benefit you the most. So it's kind of like that. And the problem is that that's fine, but then we have to, like, have a conversation about, you know, when you're reviewing something. So let's just take a little tangent here. When you're reviewing something, if you're going to review the thing, don't review it from a perspective of what did I want out of the game, and review the game itself and what it was trying to present to you. Because otherwise, again, you're just wasting everybody's time, and I don't understand why we're even reading this. So anyway, I was reading a bunch of reviews of Shatterpoint, and everything was so conflicting, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to, I was home, so I was like, you know, I'm just going to try it. So I set up with my brother, and we tried it, and we liked it. My brother wasn't a huge fan of it just because he was so used to Legion, but once we started playing it, we were like, oh, okay, we understand what they're trying to do here, and you know, why this is done this way, and so on and so forth. So again, you kind of have to, there's like an ego thing when you're doing reviews, or you're trying to give your opinion about something, because you come in with certain perspectives, or you come in with certain ideas of what you want something to be rather than what it's trying to do. And then you can't really judge things on its own merit. It's why it's like there's a lot of movies I can't stand, a lot of modern stuff that I can't stand, but it's like, let's just address things technically, you know, rather than just your own personal, like, frustration with it, or your predisposed feelings about a certain director or this or that. And I'm guilty of that. Like, I know that. However, especially in modern times, I think you can really tell something even before you see it. That's my own personal opinion. Because there is a pattern with certain directors or studios or, you know, this or that. So that's its own thing. But with board games, I feel like, so like a major problem with board games is that we have this thing where it's like there are different not sections, like genres of board games. So like, you know, you could do deck building or deck crafting or whatever it's referred to now, or like a trading card system, or what's it called, worker placement, or whatever it is, not resource allocation, it's something else, I can't remember what it is. Anyway, there's different genres, and it's like, if you're playing, like example, if you're playing a game like SETI, and then your review is that, well, it's not like Agricola, that's not really helpful, because those are like, what you're saying is that you don't like that SETI is that the way that you get resources, or that the way that you get actions is not the same way as a worker placement game. It's like, don't play that game then. Just don't play it. And so I think, as a caveat to all of that, I would say that I think that there's a level where it is important to compare it to something, but not in a way that says this is stupid because it's not like this. So it's important to say, hey, I've played Legion and Shatterpoint. If you're going to play it, and you've played Legion before, or you've played Shatterpoint before, and you're reviewing the other one, this is what to expect, how it's different. Great. That's a really helpful review, because now I go in and I can kind of adjust my expectations accordingly. But if you're just saying it's not like Shatterpoint, or it's not like Legion, and it's stupid because I want it to be like that, then go and play that game that you wanted to play. Otherwise, it's just, again, we're wasting everybody's time. So, who cares? So, okay, so this is the whole thing gray. And then we're going to go to the next section. Okay, so this first section was painted with gray from Nicpro. It was N-015. That's what we used for that. So now what we're going to do is, I'm actually not sure, because I kind of want to do, the blue in the windows first. So what I want to do is so with both of these, we're going to do blue in the windows, and then we will do like different call signs. So we'll probably do orange for one, and then either blue or red for the other one. I think we're going to do this one orange, which I think would be really fun to do. So I think, and then what we'll do is we'll dirty it up. So I saw some stuff where it was like you had brown and you had, you know, black, like maybe some scuff marks and stuff like that, which I think could be really cool. But I think what we'll do is we'll do the smaller things first, and then we'll move on to like just overcoating the whole thing white, and then we'll do the dirtiness, right? So we will do orange first. And so we'll do like, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do like orange on the flaps here. Then we'll do maybe like one right here. Then we'll do it on this forward thing. And then here, I think would be really nice. So we'll do like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then maybe 5, 6. Well, we'll do it here, here, and here, I think is how we'll do it. So that could be really fun. So we'll do orange, and we'll do it from Nicpro, which is an N-006. Like I said, we'll put everything down there in the description box. So, let's see if this is, yes, it's still open. All right, great. Again, I'm not going to thin anything unless there's a reason to, but at this point, the one thing is like, I just try to dry my brush out like completely, because it's just not, I don't know. Also, I tend to use a larger brush for this. I guess I should maybe use the smaller one, but we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. What was I talking about? Oh, game reviews. Yeah, it just drives me nuts. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe I'm old, or am getting upset about things that really don't matter. But it bugs me because it's like people are also, you know, buying games on recommendations from, like, BGG is a source, you know what I mean? Like it is an important like aspect to like the board game community or whatever, and it's like to me it's really important to facilitate a good conversation and oh, this turned out really well. And to facilitate a good conversation and be helpful in your reviews. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you know, I'm not gonna paint this perfectly, obviously. Although that looks good. That's pretty good freehand, which I'm pretty happy about. But I don't know. I think it's important to kind of like, let me see how I can do this in the right way. Yeah, I don't know. It would be nice for it to be helpful and so on. So anyway, yeah, moving on from that. And then what was I gonna say? Yeah. This is actually turning out pretty well, which is nice. So yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm just putting orange on these different flaps so that there is some kind of like, because I want to do, I really like doing like unit designations. Like I know some people, which again, I don't, you know, I'm not complaining about anybody doing anything. Like, it's your own models, I don't care. I don't particularly like doing things outside the model itself. So what I mean by that is, I know some people, I know I received models that were painted this way, that had like the base itself had like a ring. Like I had units of snowtroopers that was like, the one unit was painted like with a pink ring around it, and the other one was a blue ring, and the other one was, I think, a red one or something like that, which is fine. Like those colors are fine. The whatever's fine. I just prefer it when we can do, like, I really like doing unit designations. Like if it's like a shoulder pad, so like I did that turned out really well. I actually really like this I think this looks good. So like I did this, like this was my Stormtrooper, which is an odd color because it's black, an undercoat of black, but then it's white, dry brushed over the top, so it kind of looks like urban camo a little bit. I guess it's urban, I don't know. But then I like painted each of their shoulder pads, like one shoulder pad yellow, while the commander has a, you know, a yellow, you know, big one. So like one of them is yellow, one of them is green, I think, and the other one is red. So I did that for those, and I really like that. I really like that color scheme, so that was nice. Okay, so we did the orange, and we're going to pause, and I will take a photo of it. All right, so far we have painted it gray all the way around. Then we painted the call signs orange. I think we're going to paint one more set of orange, like over top, just to make the coat a little bit thicker on each one. Then we're going to paint the windows blue, and then we will dry brush the whole thing white, and then we will add like dirt specks, like in the crevices and things like that, and then we'll just finish out maybe doing some like, well, when we do the windows blue, we'll also like do the power. No, that's the gun. I don't remember what it is anymore. I don't know. We'll paint something. I don't know. This is how much I don't care. I should care, but I really don't. But yeah, going back to BGG, I really do enjoy, like, I enjoy a lot of different board games. I'm not just a war game guy. So I'll play a lot of board games with my siblings and stuff, and it's nice. And they like different things, and I try to also well, I teach them a lot of games, but I try to get a lot of games that they might like. And I'll say this, there have been some games that are reviewed on BGG that I feel good about not getting, surprisingly, because there is a consistent, like a general consensus for it. So I remember this one game that I have seen so many times, like I've seen it on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, but I even saw it in person once at this game store, and I wanted it to be good. Like I wanted it to be good. And just every review of it was the same thing, that it was bloated in a not good way, like in a really not good way. Because I like bloated games a lot. Like I own and play all the parts to the second edition of Arkham Horror from Fantasy Flight, and I like Suburbia, the collector's, whatever it is, the collector's edition, the one that has all the expansions in it, and I love using all the expansions. I love that stuff. But then there's certain ones where it's just like it's a money grab, which is fine if you want to do that, but like the game has to be good. The game has to be at its core designed in such a way that is good and worth that extra, whatever you want to pay for it. Foundations of Rome was a game that I wanted it to be so good. I wanted it to be so good so badly, and just everyone was like, because I don't even remember. I don't even, somebody can tell me that I'm wrong or whatever, like, because I might be, but I don't even think, because they were talking, the ones that I was, like the reviews that I was reading were specifically about the ones that were like the special edition versions. I painted way too much orange on this. Where it was like the special buildings and the special, this or that. And it's like, and people were like, what is the point of spending $300 on this when the game isn't even? So what I understood was that the general consensus was that the game itself wasn't even worth the amount of money you were paying for it. And a consistent thing was that everybody was saying that you should just buy the first edition of Santorini. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess. They were just like, people were objectively not a fan of what was going on. So it was sad, because I was like, man, this game looks really cool. And I'm a huge like city building game person, like Suburbia or High Rise or Small City, or there's another city building one that I really liked. I can't remember what it is now. Okay, so now we're going to do the color of the windows, and we're going to use Citadel Thousand Suns Blue. Like I said, I'll put everything in the description, but we're going to use this one. And we're just going to dry brush the windows blue. We'll see how that goes. Man, see, it's just like, some of these paints just dry out so quickly. And you know what? I think I'm not going to use the big brush this time. I'm going to use a small. So I've been using, I don't know how to pronounce it, Vallejo. So the paintbrush I've been using is a Vallejo 1. And then this one that I'll use is a 3-30. I don't really know what that means. I just know that the 301 is smaller, a lot smaller. So I'm just going to dry brush with this thing, and we'll see what happens. I know I'm belaboring the point about BGG, but I just want board games to be, because what were we talking about? We were talking about it because of Shatterpoint and the poor review of it. So like, I want board games to be fairly reviewed, just for the sake of, like, people who are going to play it, like, they know what they're getting into. They know, especially because here's the thing. If you're buying like Clue or Monopoly or whatever, like, that's one thing, because it's like, depending on the version you get, obviously. But you're buying a $20 game, if that. Like, you can get that game for $5 in a lot of places, especially on Marketplace. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm probably not gonna paint the whole window fully, but it would be nice to just kind of, again, I'm kind of ruining the paintbrush doing it this way, but yeah, so like that, right? And then what I'll do is I'll dry brush it white once it's done, when I dry brush everything, because then it'll most likely go over the orange as well. So I guess I don't have to ruin it too much. But you're reviewing like for Shatterpoint, you're reviewing like a $165 game, like just the core box of it. So it's like, it would be nice if you could just be a little bit more accurate in your description, because you're really affecting, like people are really going to buy that game, and they're going to buy on different recommendations. I'm going on way too long about this, so we'll just leave it there. That's fine. But I did like Shatterpoint. It just took a little while to get used to. Man, I really like this blue. Whoever, I'll have to maybe like shout out that, if I can find whoever painted that thing, because the guy, whoever did it, did a great job with the blue windows. It was really cool, very icy looking. It was nice. So hopefully this looks a little bit like it. All right, cool. Cool. So, like I said, I try different things with these paints. Like, some stuff I'm trying to do like the movies or the media, but other stuff I'm just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter as much. It's like the Stormtroopers, everyone does white, so I was like, well, to be honest, I really didn't want to paint things white. I just was so tired of doing white because all the clone troopers were white, which I didn't paint any of the clone troopers. I have one unit that I painted because I bought them already painted, thank God, because I am so lazy about this. But I shouldn't do that. So I was very happy that I didn't have to paint them. But I did want to kind of break it up a little bit, because it's like, you know, there's a whole army that's all white, and, you know, whatever. So what I did was, with that one, I painted it black or sprayed it black, then repainted it black, just so that it had like a nice, you know, whatever. And then, you know, and then was able to dry brush that white. So then that white idea, like that urban camo thing, I then translated it into kind of like, that's the look of my Empire army. So like, I have a unit of scouts that's painted that way, where the shoulder pads are white, and it's like this idea of like ghost scouts. So everything's very kind of like, it's cool. I like it. I think it looks good. But, you know, it's the way it is. The way it is. So hopefully this turns out well. I do like this blue though. I think it turns out really well. There's just so much. It's helpful that the Empire is so monochromatic, because it's so easy. Like, it's so easy to paint them. It's so quick. Even with things that are a little bit more complicated, like the range troopers, where there's like fur, and there's like a coat, and there's boots, and there's like separation between pieces. It works out that way. It's nice. And then, like, it's still monochromatic. Republic is the same way, and the droids are even the same way. The Rebellion is atrocious. Like, I don't even know. Yes, I'm painting this stupid thing, but man, is it gonna be annoying. Like, just even the fleet troopers by themselves is just obnoxious, because they just have so many pieces, like so many, like the Rebel commandos, and the problem is that the Rebels themselves are going to look like the coolest army to do. Like once they're done, they're going to look the best, just because of how many interesting pieces are, you know, exist on the on each model, and how layered they are, just from the plastic perspective of it in general. But painting it is going to be a real pain. So, I feel like I'm not dry brushing this properly. Yeah, this looks good. Pretty happy with this. I'm gonna have to go through it and do this a second time though, but it's all right. So give this, we'll just finish this side. But more or less, that's what it's going to look like. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. So, yeah. I'm excited to paint the Rebels though, because I really want to see them get done. Like, so that's also something I wanted to kind of like segue to, is just this Legion problem. Is I don't know how many of you are playing this game or are just painting the models, because I know there's a lot of people who just paint the models because the models look cool, which I think is really cool. There's a lot of just cool. There's a lot of great set pieces. I guess they're called set pieces, but a lot of great just singular pieces that you can buy. Like everybody wants to have a Republic tank that's painted. I mean, it just looks amazing. So, and you don't even have to play for it to look that cool. So I get it. But I'm curious how many of you are playing, because I don't play, like I said, I don't play in tournaments. And so what I did was I got the whole line of first edition Legion. And again, as I said before, I come from the world of Warhammer, where I started in 6th and I went all the way up to 8th, and I stayed there. And controversial opinion, I think 8th is the best. I think 8th is the best. Like, it is the best Warhammer game, and I'm not going to play another one. Like, I'll, you know, maybe I'll play Old World, you know, as like a side thing. If the people I play with decide to do it, fine, I'll play it. But no, 8th is it for me when it comes down to it. It's the best designed. So, and I, you know, happy to discuss that one, because I know there's a myriad of people who do not like 8th. I think 8th might be the most polarizing, if I remember correctly. So, all right, cool. So these are all the. Let me paint one more window. These are all the windows. And there it is. All right, take a photo and we will go to the next section. Okay, so now we are going to paint the whole thing white. Dry brush white, obviously, but still white. So as long as this thing is still usable, we'll use white Scar from Citadel. Yeah, it's still generally usable. Okay, and we'll use the bigger brush, and we will start. So going back to what I was saying about Warhammer. So again, coming from the perspective of just all this crap with all these additions from like Warhammer, I'm so hesitant when there is like, oh man, this did not. You really have to dry out the brush like thoroughly before you do this, and I always do this. I always like let it just be a little bit too wet when I'm doing it. I'm just gonna really like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of what I did with the windows. I will. This is coming off, so I'm just gonna hold this and do it because I don't want that base to come off. Like gluing it is just annoying. And I'm just gonna like I'm not even gonna, what am I saying? I'm not gonna like do this. I'm just gonna dab it more so because it just, it gives a little bit more definition because it's stuck in the one area. So I'm just gonna kind of do it like that. And I'll just show you periodically as it goes on. So this is where I was, and this is where I haven't been. So I get very hesitant when there's a thing of like, hey, we have this great idea. It's a new edition of a game that you've already bought all the pieces to, and we have no viable reason for changing rules. Like, some of them, sure, but then you have to like determine that as you go through. So I was like, there's no way I'm changing. Like, I'm gonna do this. This is ridiculous. So, but I knew things were going out of print, and so what I did was I bought up all the stuff for all the armies, so that way I don't have to go to second edition. I just stick to first. So I permanently am stuck in first, and I just adjust as new models come out. So I do get new models, like the new stuff that comes with second edition cards, and I just play it as first. Like, I just play it to the rules. And if there's like an adjustment thing that needs to happen, I'll do that. Because it's not, again, as somebody who has sat down and designed parts of games or whole games, like it's not that difficult, and the rules are not that extreme. It's more like, I don't like I'll just say this. I don't like second edition. I don't like second edition because I don't like arbitrary rule changes with not no explanation, but like a half-done explanation where it's like an explanation only done to justify more money being spent. Again, I'm a capitalist. Awesome. Do it on you. Like, good on you. If people will buy it, awesome. But from a creative perspective, I'm just like, yeah, but there was no reason for this. Like, there's no creative reason for you to have changed these aspects of the game. And again, I might be wrong. I personally don't like sacrificing details in games for ease of access. I'm a bigger fan of learning curves because it makes the game more satisfying when you're able to figure something out. That's why those, like, chip-based games are so difficult, because they didn't really, and I don't know too much about chip-based games, like, but from what I understand and my knowledge of it and my interaction with it, they didn't, there are easier games than others, but then the games that are hard are, like, they stay difficult because they're worth it to play, probably. So again, I'm just not a fan of like why get rid of turn 1 in second edition? Why? Like, I don't understand what the point of that was. Like, that's what made the game actually really fun, was the chess, like, okay, I like this. Yeah, this is that side of it, right? The light's a little bright, so you can't necessarily see the difference, but I really liked that whole idea of like, I like the idea of like chess, setting up the board, putting all your models down, being very strategic about placement. It's kind of like Warhammer in that way. So like in Warhammer Fantasy, what you would do is you'd roll off, and each person would put like their first unit down, and then the second unit down, and then they would just trade off by doing that. But then, like, there were certain rules, like leaders had to be placed last, so that way you didn't know where leaders were going to be. And then war machines could be placed all at once, which, as a dwarf player, was very nice for me. And it was a great time. It was so fun to do, and I really like the chess aspect of those sorts of things. And I don't like the idea of like speeding up the beginning of the game just to start by having everything come in as reinforcements. Like, that's, to me, that's just stupid. You lose half the game by not allowing there to be a So this is the side it's painted, this is the side it's not. I like this so far. We'll see how it continues. I'm not trying to lay it on too thick here. I'm trying to really do a good dry brush, a really good dry brush layer. So yeah, I think this is working out so well. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I just don't like, I don't like that. I also didn't, there were things where I was like, okay, this is okay. Like I thought, I still don't know what I think about the change to cover, because I can definitely see why it's beneficial to change it to what they changed it to. Again, I don't know what I think of it. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not going to even pretend to know that. Like I'm just not going to pretend to know or have like an educated opinion on that. I'm still more okay with the first edition version of cover, but I know that there's a lot of people, like I think from what I understand, a lot of people were annoyed because they felt that in first edition that that their models that they spend so much time painting and so much whatever on, they feel like glass cannons that they just never even make it to the battlefield. Like, and so I get that. I understand that. I can definitely appreciate that perspective. Don't know if it constitutes a rule change, but again, I can see where people are going with that. So I don't begrudge them that. I don't begrudge anybody anything with this. It's a game. Like for real, it's a game. So just everybody needs to relax about all these things anyway. But I can understand why people are like, oh, I spent so much time painting and coming up with like a battle plan and stuff like that, and I feel like I can't, like I'll never see my Mandalorians or my ARC troopers in combat because it's like whatever. And that's another thing too, kind of going back to the whole board game review rant that I went on earlier. That idea of like reviewing for the game you want, not the game it is kind of like, it's a very poisonous way of approaching games. And I just did it, right? Because I don't like second edition because it's not like first. However, the reason why I think that I'm not necessarily right about my criticisms, but but I might be right about how I'm approaching it is, in Old World, in the Warhammer Old World game, there is a rule about charging. And the rule for charging, if I remember correctly, is one dice. It's one die, plus your movement. And then there's some arbitrary like number system about if you were to fail your charge. Now, if you were to only play Old World, like if you were to only have come from Old World, I can understand how that would be okay. Like I get it. That's fine. Whatever. Doesn't matter. However, if you're going to change whole rules from a previous edition, and again, I understand we're talking about a different thing because 8th edition was 2010, and so we're talking about a 16-year difference or a 14-year difference. So I think Old World came out in 2024 or something like that. So you're talking about a long time, and so it's like the game doesn't even really. I'm doing so bad painting in front of this. I'm so sorry. We're not even really talking about the same. Like it's almost like Warhammer never existed because Age of Sigmar did not exist, and I will not acknowledge its existence only in the sense that we were able to buy cheaper models or a lot of models for cheaper because they didn't figure out the box set problem until much later, thank God. Also, this tail thing is going to pop off in a second. Let me do this here. Just gonna paint this. I definitely, that's good. That's so annoying. All right, so this is the back and the front of it. So now we'll just do this top part here. So I understand the caveats about the old world thing. I get it, because it's almost like it's a brand new game. But as somebody who came from the old one, it's like, okay. And also somebody who likes reading rules and doing all that stuff. Here's my problem. My problem is, if a rule worked, why are you changing it? And if you're gonna change it, I'm okay with you changing it. And with this one, I can understand, just because it's like, it's contextual with the game itself, right? So like, it's kind of like the problem with like the new Halo remake, where it's like they just insist on putting sprint on it in levels that haven't been redesigned to accommodate sprint. It's kind of like that. So like, I can understand why you, like, old world might like the game itself has a new design, so then you're accommodating it by creating these new rules that, you know, fit with that aesthetic rather than the old rules. So I totally get that. I totally get that. I'd like to see it in practice, but, you know, whatever. My problem is, if you're going to change, I have two issues. If you're going to change a rule, it has to, like, give me a reason. Don't just change a rule for the sake of changing a rule because you've made a new design. Like, don't change the rule just because of that. Additionally, what I really dislike is, in the same way that people will review games based on what they wanted the game to be and not what the game actually is, game designers, specifically when it comes to war games, what they will do is, not all of them, but some of them, what they will do, and Warhammer was dangerously close to doing this, like dangerously close to doing this a lot, and they did it too much already, but there was just a level where they weren't doing it a ton, and you know, whatever, where what they'll do is listen to somebody's complaint by saying this. Dwarf players will say, well, I'm really annoyed because I'm playing against orcs and goblins and I'm not fast enough for orcs and goblins. Like, they're just too fast for me or whatever. And then they'll say, okay, we'll give you like a pseudo cavalry unit, which is a gyro bomber, right? Which, again, is a bad example, but the point is still made. Armies are supposed to have good things and bad, and like advantages and disadvantages that are unique to them. They just are. And if you don't want to play with those things, then choose an army that doesn't have those things, or just don't play the game at all. And I don't like it when game designers will listen to these complaining players who are like, well, I just want to play with everything, and I don't want to have a disadvantage because of the army that I chose. And it's like, well, then don't play. Because we want things to stay unique. We want things to stay like I have to... For some reason, people are so... People feel, I don't know if it's oppressed or whatever. I don't know what the problem is, but people just get so like it's not fair that I have to like adjust to an army's advantage or disadvantage. And it's like, just play this stupid game, man. Like, just play the stupid game. Who cares? And it's also like, that's what makes it fun. Like, I don't want to play the dwarves if the dwarves are going to play exactly like orcs and goblins. Why am I going to do that? Like, not only why am I going to do that, and why wouldn't I just play orcs and goblins, but why would I do that at all and just play, like, why would I play this game? That's part of the joy of playing these games, is like learning what the good and bad parts of these different armies are, and really like becoming good at mitigating the losses, mitigating the issues, and coming out on top. Like, that's what makes it so great and really enjoyable. And it feel, and so when I used to play a lot, the person I used to play with, we used to like debrief every time we would play, and we'd just sit down at the computer, look at the new models, and we'd just talk about the battle that was happening. It was really enjoyable. That was still some of my greatest memories is doing that. Whenever I teach people these games, I always do that because I think it's so important to, especially when you're teaching people, to give them that chance to really to analyze what they've done, whether it's in list building or it's in the actual playthrough, or whatever it is, and just talk about like if you had gone into that canyon a turn earlier, do you think you would have turned out differently? Or if you decided to put the cannon on that side of the field rather than the other side, I would have probably done this, and then you might have done whatever it is. And I just think that stuff is so cool because it really connects players, but then it also allows you to not feel so frustrated as a player, to go like, I feel like I just keep falling into the same rut, with like the army and like I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like the army's frustrating. But if you can actually sit down and analyze like what you've done, why you did it, what you can do differently, how you can adjust, your play style or your choices, because certain things are about timing and stuff like. There's a lot of timing, stuff in these war games, and it's cool. Like it really, I don't know, it really makes the whole experience enjoyable. It just kind of like painting, how painting is a huge part of it. Debriefing is such a huge part of it because you get to really enjoy. You get to step back from what you've done, what you've how you've played, and you get to really look at it from like a general's perspective, which is kind of the the whole point, really. And it just makes it so much a fuller and richer experience. But the point is that a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to sit down and analyze what their flaws are in their game plan, because the problem with board games is the same problem with video games. Is there's an idea of like, well, the game is designed to be won and lost, and then there is like statistics about all of these things, like, well, in Warhammer, technically, if we're both playing 3,000 points, and if we decide that we're going to play a 3,000 point game, and I lose the battle, like that just means my army's bad because I had an equal chance as the other person to win. It's like, no, but it's so much about who you're playing against, and what your choices are, like what you've decided, how you decide to play your army, and what units you decide to use, and so on and so forth. And so with the debrief, it really helps with this concept of like really owning your choices and deciding like, you know what, if I, like, for example, the last Warhammer game I played, I was so close to winning, but I made one mistake, and my friend and I were talking about this, like afterward, like I made one mistake. Legitimately, it was one mistake, and it was an assumption about, it didn't seem that big a deal, but it was about assuming on a certain capability of a unit where what I should have done was focus cannon fire on this one unit rather than this other one. And the other one I allowed to, all right, so this is it, full painted. This actually looks, yeah. All right, so I'm going to paint the underside of this now. And then I'm going to shake this up really quick. And it was frustrating because what it felt like afterward was like there was no way I was going to beat this one unit that he had out. But that wasn't the case. It was literally, it was purely, ooh, I don't know how I got this all over here. It was purely a case of I made one mistake. I focused fire on something I shouldn't have focused. I should have allowed my close combat unit to take that unit out. And I lost because of it. It was one mistake. And you want to kind of like, that's okay. Like it really is okay. And it's cool to learn from that because now I know for next time, hey, I should probably trust my close combat unit to take care of that. rather than, you know, kind of like almost pseudo panic a little bit. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm really sorry for not having the thing like right in front of the camera. I'm doing such a bad job of that, so I apologize. But again, sometimes it just comes down to one mistake, and it's nice to be able to have conversations with, you know, players who are able to have those conversations and articulate them and be able to work through them, win or lose. Okay. Don't remember where I left off. Yeah, I will pause intermittently. So, yeah, I think I was just going on about people who are, you know, debriefing in Warhammer and other war games. I do think it is important. Helps people understand their armies better, understand the game better, especially with games like that, because it's just so. I mean, it's huge. These games are huge, so it's like the more you can help them, the less overwhelming it is, and the more that they'll want to play it again. So, especially since, you know, there's not a lot of people necessarily to play it anyway, or just, you know, begging to play it, kind of like the Armada situation. It's more helpful to do that, I would say. It's more gracious to people who want to play, and which is why I think learning how to teach in general, like you can know how to play something, but if you don't know how to teach it, it's its own thing. And that's why I think learning how to teach board games, or really teach anything, is so important, because how to impart knowledge is just as important as the knowledge that you are imparting. So like when I'm teaching, so like I used to, this thing is gonna, I know this thing is gonna fall off, it just is. I used to teach, when I used to work at this camp years ago, I taught, it's the one game I know how to win, like at a tournament level, which is Munchkin. And I used to teach people all the time, and I mean, it was the most fun I've ever had playing a board game. It was so great, screaming at each other, you know, all that stuff. But what I would do is, because these people would learn like right away, we would have like, you know, 15 people play at a time, or 6 people play at a time, whatever it was. And but the way that I dealt with it was, I knew the game in and out. I would read if I got a new box, I would read the cards beforehand. I'd understand the whole kind of flow of everything, and how things, you know, would happen, and, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is what I would do is I would know it enough where when I taught people, I taught them how to beat me by explaining the cards that they had in their hand, exactly how to win. Like, I didn't care. I really wanted them to enjoy it and know it enough that they wanted to keep playing. And after one time playing that game, they knew how to win, like, brilliantly. They just knew. And that's not something to be said, like, about me or anything like that. It's more of just like really like a yearning of, we need to do better about teaching people how to do things, which just goes into a whole nother discussion about teaching. But I think with board games specifically, it's just like this really, it can be really fun. And I know there's a lot of people who would love to play board games on their own, but get overwhelmed with the rules. But then when they play with other people, there's just this whole like thing about it with like just attitudes and sore losers and even sore winners. I mean, it's horrible. Like, just people are just horrible. So it's something that I really am passionate about, is like, how do we teach people better, no matter what we're teaching them, but how do we teach people better? So, okay, so we are in the last stretch of this model. So what we're going to do is we're going to take both Rhinox Hide here, and we'll take Abaddon Black. And what we're going to do is we're just going to really carefully mean, these brushes are getting ruined from all the, you know, whatever, but, well, they're okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a bit, not much at all, of the brown and then the black. And we're just going to, in like these crevices here, we're just going to create, and like maybe some on the edges, just create some dirt as if it like, you know, it just is, you know, it's just been muddied up, that's all. Not a ton, not anything excessive, just a little bit to make it, you know, just some, let's just do a little bit more here. Problem is it's a little bit red, so just a little bit there, you know, just in the corners, just a bit, just to make it a little bit more like it has some, you know, color, and like it's been just some, it's like this, just a little bit. It's not a ton, right? But you know, along this edge here, you can see just kind of it be scuffed up. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then we'll just do a bit. We gotta be really careful here because it's getting a little bit out of control. So that's good, you know. And then, so we got that one, you know, there. And then we got, this is fun. Yeah, I like these. I like, this is cool. I don't usually do this. I'm trying a lot of different things with this sort of like the Legion painting and stuff like that. And because I feel like there's a little bit more, maybe a little bit more room to do that with this rather than Warhammer, which isn't really true, but it's, you know, so it looks like it's been, you know, through it, which is nice. All right, so that's the brown. Again, nothing excessive, just a little bit. And then we'll close that. And then we'll just do a little bit of black here. Again, not too much, probably even less than the brown. Probably a lot less than the brown. Just stuff to highlight the, like really highlight the brown with. Totally botched that one. Let's see. Just dry brush the, so that side, again, it's just a little bit dirty. The black doesn't really like come out too much. It's just a little bit of like, to make the brown just a little bit more full. The problem is when you do it, you really need to make sure that you get a lot of the black off because the black comes through a lot more than the brown does. And so, you really got to make sure that you clean a lot of it off, or else like any of it is going to stay. And unless you really want that, you know, it's going to happen. So let's got this, and I think I'll just a little bit dry brush the windows. It's not going to put much on there, but it did highlight a little bit, just a little bit, and it doesn't. Unfortunately, I don't have any washes with me right now, so that's one thing that I would love to do, but I didn't have any washes, so that's all right. And Okay. And there we have it. It is finished. This is the first of the 2 T-47s that we have here. So there we go. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I'm going to do another one later this week, or wait, what's today? So this weekend, we'll do one this weekend. Might do, unsure, might be finishing a unit of shore troopers, or another crab droid, or probably won't do a speeder, but maybe General Grievous on his wheel bike. We'll see. All right, guys. Thanks. See you soon.